Hi, welcome you all. Today we are with a video entitled Oogenesis. So oogenesis is little bit different from spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis mostly occurs at the time of puberty of the males, while when you see the oogenesis, some of the part of it is already completed by the birth of a child, and the left one is completed at the time of puberty of a female. So before discussing about oogenesis, let us see how the gonad ovary is first of all formed inside the body of a female child. Okay. So here I am focused with three diagrams. The first one is an image of embryos showing from 4 to 6 weeks. The next one we have the diagram, the schematic diagram of the ovary, and the next we have the flow diagram of the formation of the mature ovum right from the stem cells, or let us say primordial germ cells. So let us see what happens during the development of 4 to 6 weeks of embryo when it is inside the uterus of a mother. So it is an embryo of a female child. So before this, if you see the diagram just before this, there we can see in the embryo there is a separation of different layers of cells known as epiblast, hypoblast, and endoderm, and others like that. So primordial cells, what we call PGC, these are actually present in the epiblast region of the early embryonic stage. So the primordial germ cells from the early embryonic stage uh, present in the epiblast will move from the epiblast region towards the yolk sac. So this is the yolk sac, this is the amniotic sac, this one inside which the embryo resists. So after that there will be a repeated division in these stem cells or primordial germ cells, and they will slowly drive and enter inside the epithelial cluster of epithelial cells present in the genital ridge. This portion it is known as the genital ridge of the embryo. When these cells move inside the epithelial cells in the genital ridge and differentiate slowly, this part will take the form of a gonad called ovary. Here we can see it has taken the form of ovary. Now during that stage, one thing is missing right here. So the thing is, primordial germ cells after repeated division here, they move into the genital ridge when the embryo is right at the 6th week, or let's say the completion of 6th week. Anyway, there is a differentiation in the genital ridge, and then finally there is the formation of a gonad called ovary. So here you can see the schematic diagram of ovary. Those cells, those primordial cells which have divided into innumerable number of cells and formed ovary right here, they are in the form of diploid oogonium. Okay, they are in the form of diploid oogonium. So we can see, focus right over there, primordial germ cells after a repeated mitosis division, they form oogonium, and these oogonium now inside this ovary, they are in about 7 million in number when the child is about 7 months. When the child is about 7 months. Now when the child takes birth, okay, takes birth, in between the 5th month and birth, there is a drastic change in the shape and size of the oogonium and its function. Right from the 5th month, as the child takes birth, now 7 million of oogonium drops down to 400,000 at birth, and now this is called primary oocyte, which is arrested in prophase first because of the secretion of the hormone called oocyte maturation inhibitor by the follicle cells. So let us see how it happens in the next diagram. So previously we have primordial germ cell, and then we had oogonim inside the ovary scattered throughout it. As the child moves towards birth, it uh, gets birth with 400,000 number of primary oocytes. So this is the primary oocyte, and these each of these oogonium when is surrounded by the flat epithelial cells. Now this uh, will be called as primordial follicle. So inside the primordial follicle there will be the presence of primary oocyte, which is 400,000 in number at birth. So what is primary follicle? What is primary follicle here? Let's see. So this one is not primary, sorry, primordial follicle, which will be about 400,000 at the time of birth. So this is also the primordial follicle, the same thing. So these flat follicular cells or epithelial cells, they will produce a hormone called oocyte maturation inhibitor, due to which the primary oocyte will be paused to prophase first stage. Slowly after the birth, when the female comes to the puberty stage, now what happens? The number of 400 primary oocyte, which was at the time of birth, it drops down to 40,000 with a next drastic change in this primary oocyte. So how is there change in the primary oocyte? Let's see. Right from the birth to the puberty stage. So right at the birth, the primary oocyte was in this form inside the primordial follicle here, and right at the puberty stage, this primordial follicle will be converted into, sorry, primary follicle, right? The primary follicles. Let us see the detailed structure. So this is the detailed structure of primary follicle. So now, this primary follicle containing primary oocyte will have cube type of cells surrounding the primary oocyte, diploid primary oocyte. These will increase in number, and there will be a lot of cube cells surrounding around the primary oocyte at puberty stage, which will drop down to 40,000 in number. Now there is a rapid change. Let us see what are those changes. There will be an intercommunication between the primary oocyte, between the membrane of the primary oocyte and these cuboid cells, and due to that, uh, the cuboid cells will produce glycoprotein membrane called zona pellucida. So this red mark, so what is this? This is zona pellucida, the first thing. And another thing is these cells or the follicular cells, it will start producing follicle stimulating hormone. Due to this, these primary oocyte at puberty stage of the female, about 15 to 20 number of such primary oocyte, they will modify into the or this primary follicle. This will be modified into antral follicle. We can see here the primary follicle is developing into or modifying into antral follicle. So what is this antral follicle then? Slowly, as the number of the cells, these follicular cells these follicular cells increase in number, there is a creation of a vacuum inside, and the vacuum will be filled with a fluid. So this fluid filled sac, it is known as antrum, and so the follicle is also known as antral follicle. So this primary oocyte, okay, this primary oocyte now slowly will divide into a first polar body and secondary oocyte with half number of chromosomes. Here the oocyte had 2n number of chromosomes, but as it comes to mm, be modified into antral follicle, inside antral follicle, the primary oocyte will undergo meiosis first division, and um, it will form a cell with half number of chromosomes along with the first polar body with the half number of chromosome. The polar body will undergo autolysis. So let's see this thing in the chart right here. So we had primary oocyte. It underwent a meiosis first division, and then there is the formation of secondary oocyte with the first polar body. The first polar body gets autolysis, undergoes autolysis. Now this secondary oocyte, there will be also a great change. Let us see what the changes may be there. So inside this secondary oocyte, which is present inside the antral follicle, the connective tissues are there that will be differentiated into inner thick interna and called theca interna, and the outer called theca externa, the first thing. After that, we have already seen here about 15 to 20 number of primary follicles. They will undergo the process of modification, changing in the form of antral follicles, but all of them won't be alive. Out of 15 to 20, only one of the secondary oocyte are containing inside the antral follicle will remain alive. So as these cells, the primary follicles, as the primary follicles grow in size, they produce a hormone called estrogen that through the flow of the blood reaches to the hypothalamus region of the brain, and now follicle stimulating hormone will be stopped and estrogen will start to be secreted. And due to this, out of 15 to 20 primary follicles, only one of them will remain alive in the form of antral follicle. Slowly, with this, again, inside the antral follicle, there will be a huge change. Let us see here. Actually, the large fluid filled space, what is known as antrum, that will become much more enlarged, filled with high content of fluid. The follicular cells, it will move apart. These follicular cells, it will move apart, and this antrum, it will push the egg cell, which is in metaphase second stage, which is paused at metaphase second stage, will come closer towards the wall of the ovary. It will rupture it, and slowly this will move from the ovary, from this ovary into the fimbriae. Now, on the other hand, the sperm will be coming here and awaiting for the mature sperm. As the sperm comes, this secondary oocyte, okay, the secondary oocyte which is present inside the fimbriae, it will undergo meiosis second division, producing one mature ovum and next second polar body. The second polar body will again undergo autolysis, and now it will fuse with the sperm, and it will form zygote. Slowly the zygote will move and it will get embedded in the inner wall of the uterus. So this is how the mature ovum forms. Let me also tell you it in the chart here. I was missing. So what happened? The secondary oocyte, as it is released from the wall of the ovary and captured by fimbriae, during that time it is released out of the ovary because of the secretion of luteinizing hormone on the 14th day of menstruation of a female. So now that With the arrival of the sperm, it divides into two cells, one mature ovum and the second is second polar body which undergoes autolysis. So this is all about, we have seen how there is the formation of the mature ovum, right from the primordial germ cells are sperm cells. Sorry, primordial germ cells are stem cells. So whether it is the matter of the formation of sperm or ovum, both of the gametes or both of the sex cells, they form from these primordial germ cells. Let us see the detailed diagram of the Graafian follicle. We can see here, we must know. So it is very sparse here. So the outer part, which is fibrous in nature, it is theca externa. The inner thicker part, it is theca interna, connective in nature. These are follicular cells. Here we have the oocyte or ovum, and this is known as antrum, the space filled with the fluid. So this is the structure of the Graafian follicle as it is shown here. Thank you.